In the least surprising news, Westworld has been given Season 2. Since it's already a hot topic for HBO, I can't say that anyone should be shocked. Welcome to the heart of the stories we tell. My name is Rob, and tonight I will be reviewing Westworld, Episode 8. And to go along with this, I have to keep learning new things every episode. This week we're going to talk about long-term and short-term memory. But for those of you that only have a short-term memory, I want to flash back to last week first. See, last week, I was so shocked by a series of events that happened on the show that I don't think I actually did my best at reviewing it. There was so much going on, so much violence that just hit on a deeply personal level that I missed a whole bunch of the story. So let's go back and talk about that for a second. Like I said last week, the Bernard switchover was able to be predicted even though I myself didn't predict it. But the fact that he's the only one that ever looked at that picture of Arnold, and we know they don't see things that they are supposed to see, really drives home the fact that we don't know what's going on about Arnold. Now, there is a fan theory that Bernard is Arnold, and if so, those flashbacks we've seen to Bernard talking to Dolores isn't Bernard. That's Arnold. And if that's the case, we have yet a whole nother level of mystery we need to solve in this show. My analogy into it being a game is just a little stronger now, because that's pretty much what Ford is doing. Now, he says he just wants to tell his story, and I've heard plenty of storytellers and game creators say such things. But at the end of the day, what it really means is he wants control. He wants to exercise his ideas and thoughts on other people. Now, that can be a good thing when done properly, and a bad thing when not. I'm still starting to see Ford as the villain of this story. What about you guys? Now, having said that, let's dig into a little more of the stuff I had to learn to figure out what was going on tonight. Why do we remember things and why do we forget them? Well, there's psychology that goes into the fact that we remember things based on how pleasant or unpleasant those experiences are. But then there's the physical part. What actually makes our memories? And there's a theory called trace decay theory. You might realize that's the name of the episode, too. Trace decay is literally the breaking down of your short-term memory. I want you to imagine for a second that you just had the worst day ever, and you just want to forget it, but all that your brain is doing is replaying all those horrible things. Maybe you just lost a loved one, either to death or because they left you. Or maybe you just had to suffer a debilitating loss of some sort. Your mind focuses, and you never forget those. What about the best day ever? The day you met your wife, the day that your child was born. You replay them over and over in your mind, and they stay. What about all the days in between those two? It's kind of funny. You can remember a really vivid experience from a year ago better than you could remember what you ate for breakfast 3 days ago. At least most people can. Because the memories that stick, those that transfer from short term into intermediate term and then into long term memory, are the memories that actually mean something and get replayed over and over again. Now, what does that tell us about tonight's episode? Well, let's take a look at what happened. But first, I'm going to throw up these warnings again, because adult content definitely is being discussed here, and, as usual, spoilers if you haven't seen the episode already. So, spoiler time. All of the main hosts have things in their memory, things that should have been deleted that are cropping up. And once again, the idea of, what are we? Are we the sum of our parts? Gets brought up this time by Ford. But let's be honest, those memories are definitely a problem. So we're going to begin with Maeve, because she sums up this story so far pretty simply. It's time I write my own fucking story. This leads us to an existential question, a bad one, especially for those of us that suffer from depression. What are we if we're not the sum of our memories? If you took away the pain and bad memories away from us, would we still be who we are now? Is she alive because she has the ability to reason? Is she a real boy because her memories are just as real as ours, and as such, the effects, whether they be mechanical for a robot or biochemical for us, are they any different? Now, having said that, giving Maeve the ability to kill scared me a little. Giving her the director ability to power over other hosts terrified me. Her subtle way of influencing the battle, both before and during, showed exactly what a huge intellect she has, and the power of words. But the story ties into the story of the Man in Black, so we're going to stick a pin in it for now, because we're going to come back to this. Because we're going to talk about first Dolores and Will, which I think is in the past, but might not be, because the church is still the remnant of the church that we see as a remnant, but that remnant is already been rebuilt in the... You know what? Dolores sums this up perfectly. Are you real? Is this now, or is it a memory? Because point blank, if we knew the answer in every scene of is this real, is this now, or is this a memory, it would totally make this a much clearer story. But probably a less interesting one. She thinks she's going crazy, and Will is trying to comfort her. But let's be honest. Is she going insane? Because she lives in a pretty insane world. Does the beginning of her sanity mean for her to realize that the whole world is friggin' nuts around her and makes no sense? Just to slide back into the Maeve part of the story for a second, think about how insane it is that her friend, the person she cares for, her employee, is just a new person today. Because you see, you can just replace Clementine. You can just deconstruct Clementine A and build Clementine B, and all of a sudden I'm back to a Star Trek analogy with those Enterprises. But even that's a pretty good question. I mean, seriously, if your memories can be messed with, who's to say the best friend you've always had isn't someone you just met yesterday? Because your memories have been messed with. So while talking about false memories, let's talk about Bernard and Ford. And everything about the scenes between the two of them are amazing. The idea that there is a spectrum of emotion. The idea that, yes, just knowing the base hues, the Roy G. Biv, isn't enough. That there are little tiny things that are transitional in between each emotion, are things that play on what makes us human, and what would allow you to pass that test. Now, every story needs a beginning, is the other thing he says, which if you remember I even said back when we found out that Teddy was getting a fill-in-the-blank history, the fact that we also learned that week that Bernard had a history we didn't know about. A dead son, a wife who is either an actress Ford hired or is a computer program or an implanted memory, I don't even know. But then, Bernard asks the important question. Everyone, everything that you've experienced, every pain, every emotion is a trick of the mind, is a memory. Do you remember falling in love for the first time? Well, if someone else remembers that exact same memory, is it any different, even if that memory were implanted? Now, Ford believes we are not more than the sum of our parts, so it's a very agnostic or a very a-religious way of looking at it. There's no soul, there's no special spark. We're just a machine that runs on biomechanical parts. I said before people always live in loops, and that we don't question what we're doing, and that at the end of the day this show was going to ask questions like this that were going to be very scary and very deep philosophical things that maybe are beyond me. I wouldn't mind hearing your guys' comments down in the comment section. However, back into that violence against women section. When Ford goes to rewrite his memory, Bernard asks a question if he ever had him do this before, and that's when we learn the truth. He killed Elsie, too, and that's kinda sad, because she was his friend. So when you're trying to figure out what type of people all the human characters are, I want you to think of Ford. Ford had someone who he programmed to be human, to like people, to think and emotionally go through the whole spectrum. He had him befriend Elsie, fall in love with Teresa, and then murder both of them in cold blood. But okay, now that we're talking about cold-blooded killers, let's get back to the Man in Black. I don't know for sure if he's William or not, but I'm leaning that way. I'm at least leaning to the fact that he has some sort of out-of-time special thing going on where things aren't lining up, and the fact that it's either Logan or William makes the most sense. So let's talk about what him and Teddy talk about. The Man in Black tells Teddy that the game is rigged and that the house always wins. Well, let's think about that. In the case of a video game or RPG, the house wins by getting the player to come back time and time again. It doesn't win by winning. It wins by providing a suitable challenge, an enticing array of you might win, and then letting you win in the end. It's not like gambling. The house wins by the player winning. The game isn't meant to be won or lost. The game's meant to look tough and end up being beatable. and as such, we get a little bit of his background with Maeve. You see, she's the first one that he experimented on, when he really went over the edge, when he went into the crazy black hat mode. He killed her daughter in front of her, and I mean, it was torturous, it looked like. And for a moment he saw her as being really alive. Why did he see her being alive? Because he saw her transcend the programming, not be part of the game. And I think that's what Arnold really wanted. The Man in Black says that he has a daughter. He says that he has a beautiful wife. Remember, William was going to get married. He also says he's a philanthropist, and that he helps people, and that he does good works. Well, do good works outweigh bad ones? Does it matter? At the end of the day, is everyone just a little selfish? Does this place really bring out your inner you? Is he really the scumbag villain? Or is he a nice guy who just got caught up in something? What about memory? What about if everyone remembers you as the asshole? Does it matter how much good you did? If everyone remembers the good you did, does it matter how much of an asshole you were? At the end of the day, how much does history get to rewrite who you were based on what we remember you to be? All interesting philosophical questions. However, all of it's kind of mute, because at the end of the day, and the end of the episode, we have the Man in Black tied up at Teddy, getting stabbed, and these things coming for them. I don't know, I kind of got this whole Minotaur at the center of the maze thing going in my head, and we only have 2 episodes left, so I'm sure things are going to get even more crazy. Tell me what you think, though, down in the comment section. So far, this video series has been by far my most watched. On average, I have more people watch this video than I do every other video I put out during the week. So I'm hoping that we can start up a dialogue and start trying to figure this stuff out. Tell me what other videos you watch during the week about Westworld, what theories you have, or which ones you like or don't like. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you to do the same things that I ask you to do all the time. So for now, I need you to like, subscribe, and share this video so that we can grow this community, and then join me back here next time as we take a walk through the heart of the stories we tell. Thanks for watching.